Good morning, committee, and welcome to any member of the public joining the 2nd of December 2021 meeting of the Western and Southern Area Planning Committee, which is one of the 3 area-based planning committees of the Dorset Council. Our area of remit covers the previous Weymouth and Portland Borough Council and most of the previous West Dorset District Council areas. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Council has had to put in place measures to enable the Council's decision-making process to continue whilst keeping safe members of the public, councillors and Council staff in accordance with the government's guidance on social distancing. As the regulations allowing decisions to be made at committee meetings from remote locations has now expired, the Council has decided that the committee will continue to meet remotely and make a minded to resolution with an officer delegated to make the formal decisions. The officer will make their decisions immediately after the committee has voted on each item and will give a reason if their decision differs from the minded to resolution. Therefore, this meeting is being live streamed to the public, and a copy of the recording will be available on the Council website following the meeting. Members of the public are invited to make written representations, provided they are submitted to Democratic Services by 8:30 AM, no later than 2 working days before the meeting. These representations will take the form of written statements of no more than 450 words, with no attachments, and will be read out at the committee meeting by our administration assistant. For the benefit of the public, my name is Councillor David Shortell, Chairman of this Area Planning Committee, and my Vice Chairman is Councillor Bill Pipe. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to members of the public.
I would now like to introduce the other members of the committee. Councillor Dave Barwell. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everybody.
Councillor Kelvin Clayton. Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, all.
Councillor Susan Cocking. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone.
Councillor Jean Dancer. Good morning, Jean.
Good morning, Chairman and Vice Chairman.
Councillor Nick Ireland. Good morning, Nick.
Morning, Chairman.
Good morning to you. Councillor Paul Kimber. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Chair and Vice Chair.
Good morning to you. Councillor Louis O'Leary. Good morning,
Good morning,
Louis.
Chair. Morning, Chairman.
Councillor Kate Weller. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
Councillor Sarah Williams. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Chair.
And Councillor John Worth. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, everybody.
For information, officers involved in the meeting include Anna Lee, who's the Service Manager, Anne Collins, Area Manager for the Western and Southern team, Hugh Williams, Thomas Wild, Emma Telford and Joe Riley, who are Senior Planning Officers, Hannah Massey, who's our Solicitor, Jenny Williams, who's the Technical Officer and who will read the representations during the meeting, and Denise Hunt, Democratic Service Officer. May I advise the committee and members of the public that item 4E on the agenda, which is POUT 2021-01128, land east of the Paddocks, Mosterton, DT8 3HQ, to consider an outline application for the erection of up to 9 dwellings and access, has been deferred for technical reasons and will not be determined at this meeting. We'll now go on to the agenda proper, and item 1 on the agenda is apologies. I would like to confirm any apologies for absence.
No apologies, Chairman.
Thank you. I understand that Councillor John Worth may be leaving us after 11:30. Is that correct, John?
Yes, yeah, that's correct, Chairman. It might actually be about 11 o'clock, but I'll stay for as long as I can.
Thank you very much for that. Item 2 on the agenda is the declarations of interest. Does any member have any declarations of pecuniary or other conflict of interest biased or predetermination regarding any item on the agenda?
Yes, Chairman, it's Councillor John Worth again. Item 4C, planning permit, PFUL 2021-00928, land adjacent to Buckland House. I sat on the Chickerell Town Council Planning Committee for this item, and I've also written in objection to this, so I will not take part as I'm predetermined. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yes, Chair, Paul Kimber.
Right, Paul, go ahead.
The item regarding Eastern Street, sorry, I haven't got the number in front of me. Apologies for that. I did speak on it earlier on an earlier application, and it could be determined that I may have a biased view on it. So I've declared this and requested the right to speak on it.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
I do have at the moment, Chairman, Councillor Louis O'Leary who would like to speak, as does Councillor Jean Dunseith.
Can I take Jean Dunseith first, please?
Yep.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to declare predetermination on item 4C, the Buckland House camping site. Item 4C, P/FUL/2021/00928. I would, however, like to speak as ward member.
Councillor Dunseith, I have noted that already and anticipate you speaking.
Thank you, Chairman.
But all right. Right, Councillor O'Leary.
Yeah, thank you. On land at Beverley Road, I will, at Littlemore, I will declare predetermination, but I would like to speak as a ward member.
Are you participating in the debate?
I won't participate in the debate and I won't vote. I will just speak as a ward member.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Sorry, Chairman, I neglected to say I won't participate in the debate for 4C, the Buckland House campsite, and I won't vote on it. I'll simply speak as ward member because I'm predetermined.
Okay, thank you. I've
Sorry.
made note of that too. Thank you very much indeed. Do we have any other declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you, committee. I would like to inform the committee and members of the public that because this is an informal meeting of the committee, which can only make minded to resolutions, we are unable to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on the 4th of November 2021. This will be done at our next formal meeting. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, public participation. The committee receives a number of written representations submitted in accordance with the amended speaking protocol effective from the 20th of July 2020. That is the first 3 public statements received in objection, and the first 3 in support, including the applicant or agent, will be read out by an officer not involved with the application. This does not include representations received from town and parish councils or the relevant Dorset councillors. The written statements have been circulated to all members of the committee prior to this meeting. Item 4 on the agenda, planning applications. To avoid any perceived concerns regarding predetermination, I have decided to stand down as chairman for the 3rd application and ask the vice chairman to chair this item. He will be supported by Councillor Louis O'Leary. I will not be participating in the debate or voting on the minded to resolution. Therefore, we have 6 planning applications before us today for consideration. We will break for lunch, plus a comfort break or comfort breaks of 5 or 10 minutes will be taken as and when is required. Right, we'll now take item 4A on the agenda, the first of the planning applications, and that is PFUL 2021-03959, Weymouth Connect, 5 Grosvenor Road, Weymouth, DT4 7QL. And that's for the installation of roof-mounted solar photovoltaic or PV panels and associated infrastructure. And I now invite Hugh Williams, the lead project officer, to introduce this item. Over to you, Hugh.
Thank you, Chairman. Hopefully the presentation is now displaying. This application is for full planning permission and is reported to committee because the application is made by Dorset Council and relates to Dorset to land that's owned by Dorset Council. The application site is shown edge red on the application site location plan and comprises approximately 0.27 hectares of developed land situated on the eastern side of Grosvenor Road in the Melcombe Regis area of Weymouth, and which includes the Weymouth Connect Adult Daycare Centre. The daycare centre is a contemporary building with both single and two-storey elements set back from the Grosvenor Road frontage behind areas of hard-surfaced parking and service areas. To the north of the application site are large semi-detached residential properties, and to the south are purpose-built a mix of purpose-built residential apartments. On the eastern side of Grosvenor Road, there's a mix of detached houses and some period properties that have been converted into residential apartments. And to the east of the site, on the Dorchester Road frontage, there's a mix of commercial and residential property. The application site is located within the designated Lodmore Hill Conservation Area, the boundaries of which are sort of delineated by the blue edging on this plan, and wherein special attention must be paid to the desirability of preserving or enhancing the character and appearance of the designated area. The nearest listed buildings are on the eastern side of Dorchester Road, shown here, but through the red stars. The aerial photograph illustrates the sort of general character of the area, with the two-storey components of the daycare centre being predominantly to the north of a single-storey flat-roofed component, the single-storey sections of the centre being mostly to the south. From Grosvenor Road, clearly the two-storey elements on the left-hand side of the view, the single-storey elements being slightly set back to the right, the semi-detached properties to the north, and the apartments to the south. From further down Grosvenor Road, again, the semi-detached properties to the north. The single-storey components comprise a lean-to section building here. The flat-roofed component is in behind, and then there's a single-storey wing, not visible in this shot, behind the green minibus. The proposal is for the installation of 94 solar PV panels arranged in 4 arrays, one on the main western roof slope and 3 on southern facing roof slopes. Each of the panel would be of a monocrystalline or all black design within a black frame and with a white back sheet. Not terribly easy to photograph the single-storey elements of the building from publicly accessible vantage points, but the southern-facing arrays are on this roof slope here, on a section of roof which is screened in here, and on this building on the right of the view. The proposed elevations illustrate the positioning of the panels on the main western elevation and variously on the southern facing roof slopes. Set out in the report, the main issues in the determination of the application are the implications for the character, appearance and amenities of the area, with the impact and effects considered to be acceptable. In particular, I'm satisfied that the addition of the proposed solar panels and associated infrastructure would not detract from either the character or the appearance of the application site or its setting. There are no updates to the published report, and the recommendation is that the committee resolve that it is minded to grant planning permission subject to the conditions set out in paragraph 12.1, and recommends that the head of planning determines the application accordingly. That concludes my presentation, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any questions of a technical nature for the lead project officer?
Chairman, I believe the paragraph number was 13.1 as on screen.
Apologies, that's probably correct.
Thank you very much.
Apart from that, Chairman, no questions.
No questions. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Before I open the debate, members, may I remind you to direct any questions or remarks through the chair, and I will invite members to speak in turn. Requests to speak need to be made via the virtual chat facility. And I also remind members that the chat facility is for the smooth running of the meeting and must not be used for discussion on the merits of an application. Please keep microphones on mute when not speaking to preserve audio quality. I now open the debate for members.
Councillor Nick Ireland, Chairman.
Okay, Nick, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just propose that we accept the recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Before you go any further, Chairman, Councillor Paul Kimber.
Paul Kimber. Okay, Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be happy to second it. And the presentation was right that the Grosvenor Road is a street that has a definite wonderful character to it, and I think this will enhance and encourage other people to think about this way of heating. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Paul. Do we have any other members wishing to speak before I take the roll call?
I have Kate Weller who proposed to second. Unless you've got something else to say, Kate, I'll skip you. Councillor Jean Dunseith, Chairman, would like to speak. And
Thank you, Chairman. I was just going to propose to second. I can't see anything wrong with this at all.
Okay, that's the debate.
Okay, right. Right, if there's no more deliberation and members can attend, they've heard the entire presentation debate. I will now take a vote by roll call, having secured a proposer and a seconder. So I'll start with Councillor Dave Bolwell.
Yeah, I'm for the proposal, Chair.
Yeah. Councillor Kelvin Clayton.
Yeah, for the proposal, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Susan Cocking.
Approve the proposal, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Jean Dunseth.
Yes, I've listened to the presentation and watched the slides, and I'm for the proposal.
Thank you, Jean. Councillor Bill Pike.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Nick Ireland.
I support it.
Thank you. Also for clarity, Councillor Paul Kimber.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Louis O'Leary.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Kate Weller.
For.
Councillor Sarah Williams.
For, Chair.
Councillor John Worth.
For, Chairman.
And I'm also for. That gives us a unanimous minded to decision. So I now ask Anna Lee to make the formal decision on this item.
Thank you, Chair. I confirm this application will be approved subject to conditions in line with the minded to resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, that concludes item 4A on the agenda. We now proceed to item 4B on the agenda. And can I draw the committee's attention to the update sheet regarding this item, which they should have received this morning? Okay, right. It is PFUL 2021-02076, which is Marsh Sports Complex, Nightsdale Road, Weymouth, DT4 0HS. And this is for the construction of a temporary compound comprising of a kiosk unit to house data exchange for telecommunication using front Jurassic fibre, including concrete slab for placement and 1.8 metre high steel palisade perimeter fencing. And I now invite Thomas Wild, the case officer, to introduce this item. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Chairman. If I just share my screen, I will. Can I just check you can see my presentation there on screen?
You can indeed.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. So as you've heard, the application for the construction of a temporary compound comprising a kiosk unit with data exchange for telecommunications, Jurassic fibre, including the concrete slab, and 1.8 metre palisade fencing. The application site location is as shown in the outlined in red here. It is located to the west of Weymouth Town Centre and Weymouth Harbour, with the just to the rest of the Rodwell Trail, which you can see running north to south here. It's on an area of grass verge, and this this building here is the Weymouth Outdoor Education Centre. If I just skip to the next slide, this shows a closer up view just with some more context. We have electrical substation and sewage pumping facilities immediately to the southwest of the site in their own kiosks and enclosures, and the application site is an area of grass verge to the north of those. This is an aerial photograph just showing some of the context as well. You can see the enclosures and structures relating to the pumping facilities, the outdoor education buildings and residential development in the wider vicinity. This is a view of the site from the road. You can see the Rodwell Trail is elevated in this location to the left-hand side. The proposed kiosk is to be located on the area of grass verge here, and you can see that to the rear we have the pumping facilities, which are a temporary facility which effectively provides additional pumping capacity and kicks in as needed. Hence the exhaust on the top of the kiosk there. This is just a layout of the proposed compound. We have a kiosk with an air conditioning condenser on the northern side of it and a power post enclosed within the palisade fencing. Elevations of the kiosk. It's a fairly functional building. There's a personnel door in the western elevation to provide access to the data exchange equipment within. The air conditioning unit on the northern elevation and separate power block. And this next slide shows the palisade fencing. So all are to be coloured green. And that would provide the additional security. Main issues that have been identified: principle of development. The proposal would support the provision of high-speed internet access across Weymouth. This is specifically supported by policy COM 10 of the local plan, so it is considered that the proposal is acceptable in principle. In terms of scale, design and impact upon character and appearance, it's true to say that the proposal would have a functional appearance, but it would be painted so as to limit its impact so far as possible, and it would be viewed in the context of the existing Wessex water infrastructure to the south, and a condition is proposed to secure the details of the colour that it would be painted. flood risk, the site is in an area of surface water flooding risk. It is in a low risk of fluvial and tidal flooding, but there is potential for some surface water flooding. But it's not considered that the proposal would give rise to increased risk due to its nature, and it would deliver wider sustainability benefits to justify the development in this location. There is no objection from Highways, but they have they did recommend originally a condition requiring a construction management plan, and you've seen from the update sheet that that's actually now been provided by the applicant. So that's it's been recommended that the recommendation is therefore that the committee be minded to delegate authority to the head of planning to grant planning permission, subject to the agreement of the Highway Authority to that construction management plan. With the recommended conditions being the 3-year implementation period and approved plans conditions as standard, the development to be carried out with that submitted construction management plan, and the colour and the finish of the kiosk to be agreed prior to any work above ground. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Thomas. That's brilliant. Are there any questions of a technical nature for the case officer?
None as yet, Chairman.
Okay. Therefore, I now open the debate to members. Is anyone wishing to speak, Bill?
Not as yet.
Right. Okay.
Could I move we go to the recommendation?
Yeah.
After Councillor Kimber has spoken, and if he wants to recommend it, he can second it.
Well, just to Chair, to propose the recommendation. Obviously, it's going to be beneficial to a lot of people. Thank you. Just to propose it.
Okay.
Take that as a proposal, then, Chairman. And Councillor Cocking.
Yeah,
I was going to propose it, but I'm happy to second Councillor Kimber's proposal.
Thank you very much.
Benefit the community.
Okay.
Councillor Jean Dunseith, please.
Councillor Dunseith, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one little query about the colour of the kiosk to be agreed on the slide in front of us. I wondered what colour was being proposed, or is there anything set down about the colour? Would it be a green, a grey, an industrial type colour?
Can I take that back to Mr. Thomas Wild? Tom, would you like to answer that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, it is intended that the kiosk and fencing would be a green colour. The intention, the condition is proposed to ensure that we have a degree of control over the shade and retention of it as a green, so it's not too vibrant a colour that would stand out, and just to ensure that we have an agreement over the precise shade of it.
Thank you. Yes, that's what it looked like on the slide, but when I saw that, I thought I would ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunseith. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
No, you're free to take the vote, Chairman.
Okay. Well, we've got a proposer and a seconder. I'm now going to take a vote by roll call, and I'll start with Councillor Dave Bolwell.
Yes, Chair, I'm minded to approve.
Thank you. Councillor Kelvin Clayton.
Yeah, approved, Chair.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Susan Cocking.
Approved, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Jean Dunser.
Approved, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bill Pipe.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Nick Ireland.
For.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Paul Kimber.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Louis O'Leary.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kate Weller.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Williams.
For.
And Councillor John Ware.
For, Chairman.
And I likewise am in favour. So that makes a unanimous decision, and I will now ask Anna Lee to make the formal decision on this item.
Thank you, Chairman. I confirm this application will be approved subject to agreement of the Highway Authority and subject to the conditions in line with the minded to resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, right. We'll now proceed on to item 4C on the agenda. Again, we've got an update sheet, so I'm hoping that all members have read that. And for this item, I'm now going to invite Councillor Bill Pipe to take over as the chair for this item and for Councillor O'Leary to assist him. So over to you, Bill.
Thank you, Chairman. We're now going to hear the application P FUL 2021/00928, which is land adjacent to Buckland House, Buckland Ripers, to change the opening times to the public of the camping site. Tom, you're a very busy chap today. It's over to you for the presentation, please.
Thank you, Councillor. If I share my screen again. Okay, yes, a land adjacent to Buckland House, Buckland Ripers. I just checked, sorry, that you can all see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes, yeah. So land adjacent to Buckland House, Buckland Ripers. Use of land as camping site from 15th of May to 30th of June, which is effectively an extension to a previously approved camping period on the site. Site location is outlined in red here, so we have an access into the site with a main camping field to the north of the access road, and the village of Buckland Ripers extending down towards the south. It's relevant at this stage just to point out some of the planning history of the site. So in 2019, planning permission was granted for the use of the same land as a camping site during July and August, and that use has been established now and is continuing. And in January of this year, the committee granted planning consent for the use of land to site a toilet and shower block with the erection of decking and steps, which has now been installed on the site, and that is a toilet block to specifically to support the ongoing camping use. This is an aerial photograph of the site, showing it's relatively recent. You can see this white block here is the previously approved toilet block, with the camping fields extending out to the east and north from it. So we have effectively it's a field with a fence dividing a line, and it's just effectively a mown field with no hard standing facilities on it, and up to 45 tented pitches on the site at any one time. This is a photograph from the south. It's actually from, if I just flick back, it's actually taken from the field immediately to the south of the camping field, but it just illustrates the setting of the site within the landscape. You can just about see the toilet block behind the mower here, and then there's some tents, but this illustrates the landform and how the land falls away towards the north. So the main issues identified are principle of development. The principle of camping on this site has previously been established by the earlier consents, and this application is just seeking an extension to the camping season. And in terms of policy considerations against policy Econ 7 of the local plan, it's considered that there is clear evidence that the applicant has a long-term management plan, albeit not one that has not a written plan that has been provided, and it is considered that the proposals meet the requirements of Part 3 of that policy, in not having a significant adverse impact upon the characteristics of the area's landscape, heritage and built environment. So officers don't consider that there's any conflict with that policy, and it's therefore considered to be acceptable in principle. In respect of biodiversity, the extension to the camping season isn't considered to give rise to any additional impacts beyond the existing use. A mitigation plan has previously been agreed with the natural environment team, and it's been confirmed by both the natural environment team and the applicant's ecologist that the mitigation would still be appropriate, and additional impacts would be avoided in this case, and therefore so that there's not any overriding concern in respect of biodiversity. In respect of highways, the proposal utilises an existing access which is well established and already used for the campsite, and therefore it's not considered it would result in unacceptable additional impacts. And just moving on, in terms of landscape and visual impacts, it's considered that any additional impacts associated with the use, which is solely the additional period of use that we're considering at this stage, would be limited, both due to the seasonal nature, the relatively limited additional period that is being applied for in this case, and existing screening and landscape that exists. You see from the previous photograph that the land does fall away to the north, so principal views from the south are screened by both the landform and existing planting, boundary planting which exists. There are established hedgerows around the site, and there is also a condition proposed to limit the use, prevent the use of the site by caravans, to ensure that the landscape impacts of the ongoing use are also limited. In respect of amenity, it isn't considered that there would be significant adverse impacts owing to the limited additional period. It's true to say that a number of objections have been received from neighbours, including one from the Residents Association submitted in the name of 29 local residents. However, the closest property to the camping area within this application is approximately 75 metres from the site boundary, and because of the way that the site is laid out and used, the actual camping is slightly further away still. It's true to say that the access drive passes closer to the nearest neighbouring property, but it still retains a separation of approximately 30 metres. And environmental health team have confirmed that they've received only one complaint in respect of cooking odours and the use of the site, but it didn't warrant any further action from their investigation. Finally, in terms of habitats, the site is within 5 kilometres of the Chesil and the Fleet European habitat site, where concerns have previously been raised in respect of additional recreational pressures, and those impacts and concerns will be mitigated through a financial contribution to be secured through a Section 106 agreement. Therefore, we have a dual recommendation for the application, that the committee, the recommendation A is that the committee be minded to delegate authority to the head of planning to grant planning permission subject to the completion of that legal agreement, with recommendation B being that the committee be minded to refuse permission if the legal agreement is not completed within 6 months of its resolution. We have recommended conditions. There is a slight update to the recommended conditions listed in the update sheet, just to amend a slight wording change. So we have the 3-year implementation period and approved plans as standard. The site to be used for tented camping only, not for motorhomes or caravans, and that tents should only be erected between the 15th of May and 31st of August in any 1 year. Completion, the development to be carried out in accordance with the previously approved biodiversity plan from 2018, and that there is no external lighting of the site, including the previously consented toilet block. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, so we received 9 written statements about this application, and as has already been said, we will take 3 against and 3 in support, and then I will ask two councillors to speak. But first of all, Jenny Williams, if you'd like to read out the submissions, please.
Thank you, Chair. Submission 1, John Perrott, object. Residents or revenue? That really is the question you're being asked by this planning application. On one side, there is the applicant who is seeking to increase the opening times of Buckland campsite to increase his income. On the other, you have the interests of the residents who have to endure the adverse impact on residential amenity this campsite is already causing. Increasing the opening times of the campsite will not bring additional visitors to the area. There are numerous campsites within 1 mile of Buckland Vipers able to cater for visitors in May and June that are not working to capacity. The government is no longer instructing you to temporarily support campsites, and more holiday makers are returning to overseas locations. In short, there is no real need in planning terms for this development. It does not benefit the community. And what of the residents? Some of you may not know Buckland Vipers. Buckland campsite abuts our village, and we are a small rural community of some 30 households. All of the households have submitted to the case officer a statement of objection asking that this application be refused. That submission was reviewed and agreed by each householder bar one, and numerous reasons for refusal were given in its 29 pages. No reference to our statement, nor the fact that the whole community is objecting, has been made in the case officer's written report. Furthermore, the case officer has not considered all of the objections raised and says the applicant lives on site in Buckland House, which he doesn't. The case officer report contains a number of inaccuracies and selectively looks at the history of the site. The case officer comments on how noise and odour pollution were considered in previous applications, but makes no reference to the reality that residents have had to repeatedly complain to the campsite and environmental health over such matters. The report states that the nearest residential properties are 75 metres away. They are if you ignore all the traffic accessing the campsite via the route detailed on the site plan. They are if you ignore the play shop and area built without planning permission, which aren't detailed on the site plan. For years, the community of Buckland Vipers have been asking for some effective control to be exercised over this development. You have been elected to represent your wards and Dorset as a whole. A whole community within Dorset is asking you to consider us and to allow us to enjoy and preserve the tranquility and amenity of our hamlet. On behalf of the Buckland Vipers and Tatton Residents Group, I urge you to refuse this application and not to extend the time when residents have to endure the adverse impact of this campsite. Janine Beale, object. The case officer's report is purely theoretical as it contains a number of discrepancies, particularly 15.9. The report is based on an assumption. A true judgment cannot be made by outside parties when they are remote from the site. 1. The house is not occupied by the applicant. The applicant resides a few miles away. 2. Amenity. The significant distance of the campsite from residential properties. In the summer of 2021, the closest group of campers were less than 10 metres away from the nearest residential property, which did result in having an adverse impact on our lives. Being so close, we suffer significant noise pollution from raised adult voices throughout the day, well into the early hours of the morning, which we can clearly hear inside our property. We have contacted Highmoor Campsite and Environmental Health about these incidents on a number of occasions, but little action appears to be taken as the noise continued into the early hours. There appears to be no staff on site during the latter part of the evening. 3. Noise from both the toilets and particularly the hand dryers are a particular nuisance. The noise can clearly be heard at our property. Can we add that these points have also been made on social media by campers using the site? 4. Cooking smells are a particular annoyance throughout the day, but as you can imagine, almost unbearable in the evening when commercial catering companies also visit the site to sell food cooked on the premises from their vans. When the wind carries the smells, we can see clouds of cooking fumes passing across our gardens. We also suffer from sewage smells emanating from the area adjacent to the toilet block. We have reported both of these pollution issues to environmental health. Both the noise and air pollution result in such an unpleasant atmosphere at our property. We resort to living inside the property and closing the windows to help attenuate the noise and smells. This is a massive loss of our amenity during the months the site is occupied. Therefore, this application needs to be considered carefully. The campsites and activities are not contained within the boundaries on the planning application. It has been expanded significantly beyond these boundaries. Therefore, the reasons given as to why the application should not affect residents' lives are not valid, and a full and accurate application needs to be submitted. It has clearly been assumed by the applicant that permission will be granted, as the campsite was operational in June 2021 and is already being advertised for June 2022. We strongly urge you to consider the residents of Buckland Ripers and refuse the application. Mr. and Mrs. Bonham Lovett object. We ask you, our elected councillors, to decide not to delegate authority for making this decision and to grant the planning application retrospectively for 2021 only, to help elevate the damage to the economy caused by the COVID-19 epidemic, and to refuse the planning application for the future to protect the natural environment of Buckland Ripers. We are asking you not to delegate your authority because the people of this area elected you to represent us, your constituents. We are sure that you want your legacy as a councillor to be that you did not turn away from making the challenging decisions and that you represented the people of your area to the best of your ability. With regard to the application itself, you will hear from others about the factual inaccuracies contained within the report. You will hear from others about the whole-scale destruction of our natural surrounding and the disruption of our neighbours' daily lives caused by this campsite. We are appealing to you to give us the voice that we need in the democratic process. The committee report gives you the legal framework for making your decision. The committee report refers to the knowledge of the planning enforcement team of alleged or actual breaches of planning control on the site and of the landowner's non-compliance with other legislation. You are not allowed to consider that, but you know what you know. You may ask yourself if a small financial contribution should be a factor in making a democratic decision which affects your constituents. You may think that it will cost the council more in legal costs to process and reclaim the financial contribution. You may think that the financial contribution made to the economy by the households of the immediate area is of greater value to the authority. We ask you to consider carefully before you give the answer that you may feel you have to give. You may feel where you have no choice, that your hands are tied, and you have no power. Imagine how we feel. You could ask yourself, why did I become a councillor? Was it to make a difference? Was it to affect change? We ask you to make the difficult choice. Please support your constituents. Please protect the natural, beautiful area of Buckland Ripers. Please be our voice. You can make a difference. Thank you for your time. Charmaine and Ian Parkinson, support. My husband and I are wardens at Buckland Campsite, a dream job for us. As tenters, we know and understand the kind of camping experience like-minded people want. The following statement is in support of the above planning application. Buckland Campsite provides a beautiful location for families to enjoy their much-needed holidays in a natural and restorative setting. The campers who stay with us love having a tent and smaller camper vans with tents and awnings only campsite. This is unique in the immediate area. It provides a more relaxed and informal setting for holidays. It enables families to meet up and spend precious time together. It is wonderful to see children enjoying being children by playing and making new friends whilst parents are able to relax. As the site is secure, we have many families stay with us whose children have additional needs such as autism. It is a lovely location to use as a base, enabling visitors to enjoy the stunning beauty of the Jurassic Coast and beyond. Many local businesses benefit from our campers who contribute significantly to the local economy by visiting places such as Knowth Fort and the nearby Swanery and Tropical Gardens in Abbotsbury. Families eat out at local pubs and restaurants such as the nearby Elm Tree pub and frequently order local takeaways for their evening meals. Additionally, in the Little Campsite shop, we celebrate local produce from artisanal businesses such as from Dorset with Love jams and chutneys, cheese, butter and milk from Craig's Dairy, and sausages and bacon from Lyme Regis' Butchers. Dorset tea, Moore's biscuits, Purbeck ice cream and many others are sold. Local taxis benefit from extra business regularly. A local cycle hire company, Weymouth Bike Hire, often drops bikes off for people to explore the local area in a sustainable way. A local cleaning business cleans the toilets and showers daily. Maintenance on the site and grounds is carried out by local people employed by the owners. Businesses like Buckland Campsite bring significant benefits to the local economy. Many businesses are dependent on the local tourism industry throughout the summer months to support their survival in the leaner winter times. This provides an often unseen benefit to local residents by enabling such businesses to remain open throughout the year. Consequently, granting this application to extend the season for an extra 6 weeks will bring additional benefits to the local economy. This is particularly significant currently as local employers and businesses recover from a particularly challenging time during and following the pandemic. The pandemic has increased demand locally for reasonably priced places where families can stay whilst discovering the delights of Dorset. Daniel Smythe, support. The application before you today is only being considered by yourselves following the personal interventions of our local councillors. You are not being asked to consider anything other than a time extension to help us satisfy overspill demand from our award-winning Hire More campsite, which recently won the award of Best Campsite for Channel 4 camping series called The Perfect Pitch, which aired in autumn. The Whitsun half term is a busy time for families wanting to come camping, and we do not want to lose this valuable business we have worked very hard to achieve. The campsite has 2 extremely good wardens on site all the time, ensuring the site is managed well. The families we attract enjoy the peace and quiet of the area and also respect the environment they are visiting. We have had no problems from campers in the time we are allowed to open. We are sad that some local residents paint visitors to our area as destructive, negative people. The impact on the local economy is increased employment, supply chain purchases that help improve the local economy and employment. We tested the running of Whitsun in June last year with the government's 55-day agreement, and opening the site proved very successful. We note that another local campsite at Tatton, just less than a mile away, is asking to increase its camping pitches with no local objection. We are happy to continue to work with you and your officers to improve anything you deem might be helpful to ease local concerns and improve the campsite. The only complaint we have had is a letter from Environmental Health saying the local resident had complained about the smell of barbecue. Since you approved our last application, we have sadly been subjected to considerable harassment, alarm and distress from a drone flying over our land and campsite, which we know is from a local resident, as Mr. Dackham has received copies of illegal photographs and coverage. We are also very sad that a few local residents continue to trespass on our land as if it belonged to them. More importantly, we are deeply concerned at how scarce local government resources are being spent on vexatious complaints with no grounds in an attempt to close the campsite. We hope you will support your officers and recommend approval and show your continued support to our business. Dickon Carpendale, Agent. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for allowing us to address you today. You will all be familiar with the site, having dealt with the application for the toilet block at the beginning of this year. As I'm sure you will remember, this is a site used solely for camping with tents, and the licence restricts it to 45 pitches. Currently, it has full planning permission to operate during the months of July and August. This application seeks an additional 6-week period from the middle of May until the end of June for camping on the site. As Mr. Smythe has already explained, this will enable the site to be made available for the Whitsun weekend up to the approved summer months. I would like to address the comments which have been made with regard to highway safety, noise, smell and impact on wildlife. You will have seen that the competent highway authority raises no objection. Similarly, there are no objections from your environmental protection team, and your natural environment team has confirmed the additional time applied for will not result in any increase in the impact on the site or protected species. As Mr. Smythe has explained, the site is carefully managed, and this is the best way of controlling noise to ensure that there is no disturbance late in the evening. With respect to barbecues, this must be considered a normal summer smell, and it seems most surprising that people take objection to this, especially as the site is well away from any houses. The nearest garden to the site boundary is some 45 metres away from the nearest dwelling, being over 75 metres from the edge of the site. Because of the position of the toilet block, the tents themselves are set even further away, such as there is no camping within 100 metres of any local residence. In such circumstances, there is clearly adequate separation to ensure that there will be no adverse impact upon the local community. There is a much valued and well utilised facility enabling staycationers to enjoy the Dorset countryside and to have a reasonably affordable holiday. With there being no objections from statutory consultees, I'm sure that you will agree this small extension to the camping season should be wholeheartedly supported. I trust you will vote in favour of the officer recommendation for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you, Jenny. I'll now invite the two councillors who wish to speak, and I shall invite Jean Dunsey first. Jean, you have 3 minutes.
Just wait until I come up. There I am.
There you are.
Right, okay. Thank you, Vice Chairman. I'm going to be reading out what I'm going to say. I've already jotted it down. Now, at first glance, this seems simple. It's an extension of the operating time of an overspill campsite. We have the policies and guidelines in place, but this is a situation where I feel policy meets and maybe conflicts with people. As already mentioned, the residents have organised into a group and objected about this. They're objecting about the effects of this campsite on their lives and their enjoyment of their homes and gardens. Now, in the local plan, I believe this is covered by ENV 16, which states proposals for development should be designed to minimise their impact on the amenity and quiet enjoyment of existing residents. One of the bullet points, it's permitted as long as they don't generate a level of activity or noise that will detract significantly from the character and amenity of the area or the quiet enjoyment of residential properties. The campsite is outlined in red, but of further concern is an additional piece of land which is closer to some of the residents. It's already been used, it has electric hookup points, it's completely unscreened from the road, and if you approve, then this extension and this additional field will also be used. This application is for an overflow extra site to the main business. It operates for 2 months as is. Residents already live with disturbance, noise and smells of barbecues during the main summer period of July and August. If granted, this would increase from 2 months to 3.5 months, in fact, covering the whole of the summer. We've been told that noise and smells have been already looked at previous applications. Well, the disturbance to residents hasn't gone away. In fact, it's increased due to this additional field that is being brought into use. The campsite, this additional field, it's close to gardens, and the noise and the smells do carry a long way. And residents are very alarmed that this could increase for the whole of summer, and they have nowhere else to go. This is a balance of supporting tourism, which we all want to do, and respecting residents' right to quietly enjoy their homes and gardens. And I would like you to give weight to residents who already have 2 months of the campsite in use on their doorstep and really don't want it to increase to 3.5 months, the whole of the summer. Thank you, Chairman. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Jean. And I now ask Councillor John Worth. You too, John, have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman. Yes, I'm objecting to this application as representative of Chickerell Town Council. Their planning committee lodged an objection, and I'm just here to echo that. A site was originally granted planning permission for the seasonal campsite during July and August, and we have had complaints about noise, the cooking smells, excess traffic. As everybody's aware, noise does travel considerably further at night, or it always appears to be. So, you know, early summer evenings, it can be quite disruptive. And to grant the extension to the opening times will further impact on the residents' lives, who feel they deserve to have some peace and quiet during the summer months. And there is also an impact on the wildlife due to the increase in human activity, as it will be within the bird breeding season if it's granted for the extension. So there is that impact. And I would also like to draw the committee's attention to the fact that when planning permission has been granted for this site in the past, the applicant has chosen to ignore some of the conditions imposed, and when enforcement is visited, submitted new plans to overturn these conditions. So I would caution the committee that if they are minded to approve it and they have conditions, that there is greater emphasis is put on the fact that these conditions do need to be adhered to. But I do appeal on behalf of the residents of this delightful rural hamlet to recommend refusal for this application so that the impact on them is mitigated. They have 2 months of impact as it is. A further 1.5 months I think is a step too far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll invite Thomas Wild to answer any salient points from both the 6 statements and the contribution from the 2 council members. Tom.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair, sorry. Just a couple of brief points. There was mention made of the applicant not living on site. So the statement in my report was based upon a discussion I had with the applicant on site, where they indicated that they were living on site. It may well be the case that that was incorrect. However, I don't think that it doesn't affect the planning balance in this instance as to whether the proposal is acceptable in principle or the additional impacts. The other point was made in relation to the some camping taking place within 10 metres of neighbouring residents and in the fields to the west and northwest of the site. I just wanted to stress that that falls outside of the scope of this application. This application solely relates to the area outlined in red on this plan that's on screen at present. Any additional camping activities or other activities taking place outside of that red line would be a separate consideration. So the application is solely for the additional period of camping within the red line for between May and July to create the extended season. That's all I wanted to add at this stage.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I've got a couple of points before I ask for technical questions. One of the conditions is that caravans are barred and camper vans are barred from the site. But in the submission by the 2 wardens employed at the site, they mention how they welcome camper vans. So I don't see how that fits in. And the statement by Councillor Jean Dunseith mentions an additional field. There isn't an additional field. It's what we're looking at is what's on site, and it's an established site. There is no additional field in this application. Any technical questions, Louis?
Councillor Weller, do you have a technical question?
Yes, I do, please. Yep. Thank you. In fact, one of my points was exactly what Councillor Piper's just mentioned, that I think it's the agent said this is solely for tents, and yet the wardens said we welcome camper vans, and I think that the difference in those two statements sort of sums up a problem that I have, because there seem to be a lot of discrepancies between what we're being asked to approve, what we did approve back in January, and what we're being asked to believe is happening by the residents. And I guess it comes down to us believing one thing or another, but if the officer can clarify some things, it would be helpful. And I'm going back a little bit, but you will see my point, I hope. Looking at the picture that we've got at the moment with the toilet block, the roof of that toilet block is clearly white. When you showed us the second photograph that you showed us, you said, well, you can just about see the toilet block because there were cars parked in front of it. And I wanted to ask you, are the sides of the toilet block now green or brown or something, or are they still white? Did you notice that?
Would you like to chat, Tom?
Yes, I can provide a very quick response to that, councillors. The toilet block is now green. I believe the roof is still white, but the vertical walls are all now coloured green.
Okay, thank you. And we also spoke about some planting and some indigenous hedgerows being replaced and so on. Has that taken place, or is that in the process of being done?
My understanding is that has taken place, yes.
Right. Okay. So this photograph is maybe a little old in that case. That's fine. Really, what I'm trying to establish is what has happened and what is happening, because, as I say, that there seems to be some discrepancy there. That's all I have in terms of technical questions. Thank you very much, Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Weller.
Chairman, I've got Anna Lee wanting to come in, but I've also got Councillor Kimber before her, so I'm not sure who you want to take first.
No disrespect to Paul, but I'll take Anna first. It may be a technical question or on what we've already heard. Anna.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I just wanted to pick up, because I know there were a lot of concerns raised through the representations and also from some of the statements from councillors in regard to potential breaches of planning control. And I just wanted to emphasise that any alleged breach of planning control would be dealt with through planning enforcement process. And I think it is important for this application to focus on the application before the committee and whether or not the proposed extension to the season would cause an unacceptable level of harm. So I just wanted to pick up on that point. Thank you.
Very relevant. Thank you very much, Anna. Okay, Louis.
Councillor Kimber.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair and Louis. I wanted to, Kate has asked one of my questions about the screening, and that is most important on this application that is pursued. I wanted to ask about this 10 metres from the nearest home. And thinking about 10 metres, it's almost like having somebody camp at the bottom of your garden. I just wonder if you could show us on the overhead the exact point and the home that refers to. I know you said it was more or less within the west of the site. If that could be shown, I'd be interested to know and how we can deal with that.
Okay, Tom, one for you.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. I don't have precise details of exactly where that camping was taking place. I understand it was the field in here and possibly in here as well that had been used temporarily during the summer. As I said previously, though, those are outside of the application red line here, and those any potential breaches of planning control relating to that would be dealt with by the enforcement team and investigated as Anna has previously indicated.
That they are just from my own knowledge then, that they are camping areas then, are they? But outside of that particular boundary.
I believe they have been used for that, but that there is no planning consent in place for that. They've been used under temporary permitted development rights.
So what was happening was probably known as rough camping, isn't it? Okay, thank you very much, Chair or Vice Chair.
And did you want to come in on a point there, please?
Yeah, I just really wanted to reiterate what Tom was saying there. We have never granted plan permission for camping on these bits of land that Tom was just talking about. And you wouldn't be considering that today as members. You are only considering what is happening within that red line. And that's the same red light area as was approved in 2018. You are not considering any extension of the camping area. And as Tom has already said, in respect to this red line, it is a more significant distance from properties. There is no part of the camping field within 10 metres of anybody's dwelling.
Okay, thank you very much, Anne. Any further questions on a technical nature, Louis?
None, Chairman.
Okay, so I'll open the debate. Any questions from members, please?
Not yet. Councillor Dave Bolwell.
David, fire away.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. It seems like all of my concerns are not relevant to this particular application, and I think we just have to have faith that the issues are going to be dealt with by our planning control. And I'm struggling to find any reason, although I do understand the heartfelt pleas. Technically, I can't find a reason to go against this one.
Okay, thank you very much for that, David. Next, Louis.
Councillor Kate Weller.
Kate.
Thank you very much. This application concerns me. We spent a long time on the previous one and we could see the justification for it. We understood everything and there was a need. I'm not convinced of the need now. And I'm not convinced. We're told that the applicants run very well regarded sites elsewhere, and this one we hoped and anticipated was going to be similar, and yet we're now being told that they actually use sites outside the designated area, and I do understand what we've been told about that not being part of this application, but inevitably it does impact on our thinking on this application because it doesn't indicate a very responsible attitude towards permissions. If you get permission for one thing but you do things that are not compliant, we could all set up if we've got a bit of a field, we could all set up campsites, couldn't we? And wait until somebody comes and jumps on us. I'm also concerned about the traffic indications. The residents seem to be saying that what I took to mean something like burger vans turn up and serve on site and so on, and that surely is not in the spirit of a campsite. And if that's happening for 3.5 months of the year, that has a serious impact upon the neighbours 10 metres or 30 metres away, 45 metres away. I certainly wouldn't want to be living close to a burger van. And I don't think very many people would want to be doing that. So I have serious issues with this. I understand what Councillor Bowell was saying about what reasons can we give for refusing. Mine are that I'm not convinced it's a well-run site from what I've the evidence that I've heard so far, and I do appreciate that a lot of that is enforcement, and perhaps we need to be doing that a little bit more enforceably. So I'm sitting on the fence still at the moment. I'm waiting to be convinced one way or the other, but I'm leaning. Thank you.
Just to be in fairness, Councillor Weller, nothing has gone to planning enforcement about any alleged, and I call it alleged, camping outside of the area. So I'm minded to not take too much weight onto that personally.
I understand what you're saying, Councillor Pipe, and I would be inclined to agree if it were not for the statements of the two ward councillors, and I do hold their statements with quite a degree of weight. And I know that previously they've wanted to be very supportive, and they now have reservations, and I think that does, for me, that holds considerable weight, because they're the people on site, as it were. They know what's happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Louis?
Councillor Clayton.
Kelvin?
Thank you, Vice Chair. My camera is on. Like the others, I'm finding this very difficult to come to decision. Is it at all possible that a condition could be included to enforce the use only within the agreed boundary, just to reinforce that there is to be no camping outside of the agreed boundary? Is that possible?
I think Anne, you might like to answer that one.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, yes, we'd be conditioning the approved plans, so the development hereby permitted should only be carried out in accordance with the site plan, i.e. it can only be carried out within the red line. So there wouldn't be the need for another condition. It would be very clear, and the applicant employs a professional planning agent, who'd be explaining that you have, if permission was granted, you've only got it for within that red line. Anything outside of that red line, is a separate matter, and is an enforcement matter as appropriate, really, as Anna's already said.
And that would apply for the whole season, not just the extension?
No, it would apply for the whole season.
Okay.
Was there anything else you wanted to add, Anne? I know I see you in the chat bars wanting to speak.
I was only going to come back on something that Councillor Weller said. I heard her concerns with regards to the sort of the burger van. Again, members just need to be clear that that's not what's being considered today. We are only considering the use of the land for that additional 6 weeks for camping.
Thank you very much. Louis, any more?
I've just got Councillor Bolwell wanting to come back, Chairman.
David.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Following the comments from Anne after Councillor Kelvin Clayton has spoken, I'd like to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Okay, I'm looking for a seconder. Then I shall do that. I shall second the motion, the recommendation. Right, we'll go to sorry, my voice has just decided to pack up on me. We'll do a roll call.
Sorry, Councillor Pipe, is Anne. Just to be clear, is that with the amended condition in the update sheet as well?
It is with the update sheet. Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay, I'll do a roll call. Councillor Bolwell.
I'm minded to approve.
Thank you. Councillor Clayton.
Oh, have I got to make a decision? Approve. Approve, Chair. Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cocking.
Approve, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ireland.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kimber.
Against, Chair.
Against. Thank you. Councillor O'Leary.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Weller.
Against.
Councillor Williams.
Minded to approve.
Thank you. And myself, I'm for the development. Thank you. So could you do the numbers for me, please? And then I shall pass it over to, sorry.
Chairman, it's 7 for and 2 against.
Sorry, would you say that again?
7 for, 2 against.
Okay, I shall now pass that over to Anna Lee. Anna?
Thank you, Vice Chairman, and I confirm this will be taken forward in line with the minded to resolution of the committee. And just for the avoidance of doubt, this is a dual recommendation, so it be granted subject to completion of the Section 106 agreement, or refused if that Section 106 agreement isn't completed within 6 months or an agreed extension of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point now, I shall hand back over to the real chairman, I suppose, David.
Thank you, Councillor Pike. I hope I am real.
Thank you. You are indeed.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, committee. Right, the next item on the agenda is item 4D, which is PFUL 2021-02048, land adjacent to 423 Chickerell Road, Chickerell. That is for the erection of one in number dwelling. So over to you, back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just share my screen again. Can I just check that you can all see my presentation?
You can.
Okay, perfect. So application land adjacent to 423 Chickerell Road, Chickerell, for the erection of one dwelling. I'll just put my pointer on. The application site is, as shown, outlined in red on the plan on screen now. The site sits on the southwestern side of Chickerell Road, on the just on the outer edge of the existing development boundary. If I zoomed in, as you can see, there are existing dwellings on the southwestern side of Chickerell Road, and immediately to the north we do have higher density dwellings within the town. There's an aerial photograph of the site showing the site as it is relatively recent. This is slightly out of date because there is actually a dwelling being constructed as we speak on this site immediately to the west. But there are existing dwellings extending either side along the road, along the southern side of the road, and as you can see, dwellings on the northern side of the road. The dwellings along this in this area where I'm just indicating at the moment, they front onto Chickerell Road, and then the dwellings to the north, they actually present their rear elevations to Chickerell Road and turn away from the main road. It's relevant to just covers the planning history of the site and its neighbour. So 2015, under reference WD 15 001123, is the erection of one dwelling on a neighbouring site immediately to the west. As I mentioned, that is currently under construction, and then there are two records relating to the current application site, which are for the erection of a chalet bungalow with a garage, most recently granted in 2017. Due to their age, those have now expired and can't be implemented, but they have been taken as a consideration in the decision-making process and making recommendation. This is the site plan as proposed. We have the neighbouring property as existing to the east. To the west, this is an indication of the footprint of the approved dwelling that is currently under construction. And the proposal is for a two-storey dwelling with an integral garage which projects from the front elevation, and a single-storey element down the eastern side of the property, and landscaping to the rear. We have a street scene elevation here, so we have the neighbouring property either side. This is currently being constructed. So the proposal is for a contemporary designed dwelling with a presenting a gable frontage to the street. We have this element. This triangular element here is actually a dormer containing bathrooms at first floor level, and that is set back some way from the front elevation, so it wouldn't be overly prominent in the street scene. You can just see, and at the bottom here we can see this is a comparison showing the previously approved scheme on the site with the difference emphasized in pink. So the blue dotted line is the current proposal, and the black outline is what was previously approved. And you can see that the previous approval expanded out to the western site boundary and had a wider frontage with the ridge of the roof running in across the site rather than north to south as is currently proposed. We have a rear elevation as proposed here. So we have the main ground floor accommodation with first floor reducing in bulk through the reduced eaves line. This is a basement level that's proposed, which contains additional living accommodation. That will be there's a bridge crossing over a subterranean courtyard area with there'll be steps down into that externally and internally. So that's just illustrating the additional basement level. And this plan is just showing a comparison between the previously approved scheme, which is dotted in red, and the current proposal as dotted in blue. As you can see, there are some slight differences in terms of the projection into the site. So this the top of the screen would be Chickerell Road, with the bottom of the screen being the rear elevations. So that the scheme would project slightly further into the site, but also the what was previously approved as a detached garage is stepped back and integrated into the front of the building. And as previously mentioned, the building would step away from the western site boundary slightly, just so it doesn't fill the width of the plot to the same degree as previously approved. Main issues that have been identified, the first one being the principle of development. As we've previously seen, the council is currently unable to demonstrate a 5-year housing land supply, meaning that the presumption in favour of sustainable development as set out in the National Planning Policy framework applies. So therefore, although the site is outside of the defined development boundary for Chickerell, but it is considered to be sustainably located, and planning permission, as we mentioned, has previously been granted for a dwelling on the site. So it's considered that, on balance, that the principle of development can be supported in this instance. In respect to scale, design and impact on character and appearance, the proposal is considered to relate well to the surrounding area, and is not considered to be out of character. There are examples of contemporary design approaches in the vicinity. The scale and bulk of the building is comparable to neighbouring properties, so it's not considered that there would be overdevelopment as such. In terms of highways impacts, the proposal isn't considered to result in any unacceptable impacts on the highways network. There would be a new access onto Chickerell Road, and conditions are proposed by the Highways Authority to require the submission of additional details of the access, and for that access to be provided and retained prior to the occupation of the dwelling. And then finally, impacts on habitat sites. The site is located within 5 kilometres of Chesil and the Fleet, where the concern has previously been raised in respect of additional recreational pressures from new dwellings. In this case, the funding towards mitigation measures that have been agreed with Natural England will be taken from the council's sill pot as the development will be sill liable, and also the consideration has been given to the potential impact on the Crook Hill brick pit habitat site, which is the particular interest there is for great crested newts, and the natural environment team has confirmed that due to the location of the site, the distance from the protected habitat sites and the intervening urban development, it can be concluded that there wouldn't be any harmful impact upon great crested newts as a result. Therefore, it's recommended that the committee be minded to grant delegate authority to grant planning permission, subject to the recommended conditions being 3-year implementation period and approved plans as standard. Details of facing materials and roofing to be agreed prior to commencement above ground level. The first 5 metres of the access to be constructed to a specification to be agreed with highways. The turning and parking space shown on plans to be provided and retained thereafter, and then finally a condition requiring the reporting of any unexpected contamination that might be found during construction. And that concludes the presentation for this application.
Thank you very much, Thomas. That's a very good presentation. I'm now going to invite Jenny Williams to read the written statements submitted to Democratic Services. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Chair. David Glassuk, agent. I am the agent for the application acting on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Craig and Charlotte Pyle. Craig and Charlotte hope to build their home on a plot of land which has been in their family ownership for over 40 years. Craig and Charlotte are not developers. They're a local family who have spent all of their lives in Chickerell. They have their own family-run business located a short distance away from the application site at Granby Industrial Estate. Chickerell is their family home, as it has been for multiple generations before them. Full planning permission for a dwelling has already been granted approval on the application site, not once, but twice under application reference WD D14002912 and subsequent application WD D16000541. The adjacent plot was granted permission under reference 15001123 for a 1.5-storey dwelling. This particular plot adjoins number 425 Chickerell Road, which also has received planning approval for a new dwelling. The proposals under this application will form a new dwelling in a residential area with properties to both sides and also directly opposite along Chickerell Road. In short, this is a plot located in a residential area. As clearly set out and demonstrated in the design and access statement prepared, the proposal for Craig and Charlotte's family home are based upon the footprint, area, form, size and scale of the previously approved scheme. Contrary to the Parish Council's comments, the revised application actually looks to enhance and improve upon the previously approved scheme by creating a larger separation between neighbouring properties. This is because the previously approved scheme had the building wall line sat directly along the western boundary, whereas under this revised scheme, the wall line has been brought in and away from the neighbouring plot. The separation will create a less imposing and overbearing relationship with its neighbour. The proposals, by virtue of its design and reorientation of its gable, will have less impact on the street scene than that of the approved scheme. There will be more visibility through to the coastline, and the proposals are a positive impact in terms of the neighbours adjacent across the road. The application has full local authority support, meets policies, and is an improvement on the previous planning permission in terms of scale, mass, form, and orientation. It is hoped that the committee team look favourably on Craig and Charlotte's application for a new family home. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to go back to Thomas to respond if he wishes to add to any of those points made by the statement.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have anything to add at this stage.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Are there any questions of a technical nature for the case officer?
None as yet, Chairman.
Okay. I now open the debate to members. Are there anyone wishing to speak, Phil?
Indeed not.
Okay. Right. So I'm now looking for a proposer and a seconder.
That may come from Councillor Jean Dunseith, Chairman, and it also may come from Councillor Nick Ireland.
Right. Okay. Who was first?
Councillor Jean Dunseith, Chairman.
Over to you, Councillor Dunseith.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't disagree with a house being built here. They've had planning permission before. It's already had planning permission. And then it was a chalet bungalow. I do know the area. There is a set of 5 plots. 3 of them already have bungalows, chalet bungalows on them. The next one is in the process of being built, as already mentioned, and then this one. But I feel, although they have pulled it in from the boundaries, I sort of have a feeling from the design, it's very contemporary, but I just wonder how well it will fit in with that line of chalet bungalows. It's almost sort of mirroring the existing house that is next door, that is a good deal older. As you would drive or walk along, it's possible at the moment to look through these bungalows, well, the 3 that are there at the moment, and you can get a sea view, certainly a sense of openness. Whereas I think this house will sort of close up that gap and maybe make it feel a bit more hemmed in. I mean, you're going to get that to a degree anyway, with a house being there. But I have no objections about a house being there, and I appreciate that the dimensions are an improvement on the previous plan. But that was just the comments that I wanted to make, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Dunseith. Now go to Councillor Ireland.
Councillor Ireland, yes, Chairman.
Really slow network today, isn't it? Yeah, I'll just approve the recommendation proposed, what we do. I have no problem with it.
You're proposing, Nick, are you?
Okay, let's go to Councillor Dave Bolwell, Chairman. He's the last on the list at the moment.
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Proposer and a seconder, Chair. You may proceed.
Anyone else wishing to speak, Bill?
No, Chairman.
Okay, in that case, I'll take the vote by roll call. So I'll start off with for clarity, Councillor Dave Bolwell.
Yes, minded to approve, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kelvin Clayton.
Yeah, I'll support, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Susan Collier.
Approved, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Jean Dunseith.
Well, I've had my say, but I will approve this home for local people.
Thank you very much indeed. That's approved by you. Councillor Bill Pipe.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Nick Ireland.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Kimber.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Louis O'Leary.
For, Chair.
Councillor Kate Weller.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Williams.
Minded to approve.
Thank you, Sarah. Councillor John Worth.
Councillor Worth has left the meeting, Chairman.
Thank you. I'll cross that through then. Thank you very much indeed. I am minded to approve. So I believe that's unanimous of 11. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right, okay. I now ask Anne Lee to make a formal decision on this item. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chairman, and I confirm this application will be approved subject to conditions in line with the minded to resolution of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Members, committee meetings are limited to 3 hours duration unless the majority of members present valent for the meeting to continue. It is therefore necessary to take the vote to resume the meeting after lunch beyond that time limit. I'll now take a vote by recall. by roll call.
If you need a seconder for that, Chairman, as you're proposing, I'll second.
Yeah, you're seconding. Okay. Okay, right. So to extend the meeting, Dave Burwell, Councillor Burwell.
Yes, I approve, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Kevin Clayton.
Approve.
Yes. Councillor Susan Courtney.
Approved, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Jean Dunser.
Approved, Chair. Can I just confirm that we would be starting at, is it 2 o'clock?
Yes, I'll come to that in a moment.
Okay, thank you,
yes.
Chairman. Approved.
Approved. Councillor Bill Pike.
Approve.
Thank you. Councillor Nick Ireland.
Approve.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Kimber.
Approved, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Louis O'Leary.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kate Weller.
For.
Councillor Sarah Williams.
Approve.
Thank you. And I approve that obviously as well. So that's a unanimous decision to extend the meeting. Now, because of the afternoon session has been advertised to start at 2 o'clock, it means in fact that we cannot continue until then, so that the appropriate members of the public could be present. So I'll now close the morning session for lunch, and the afternoon session will commence at 2 p.m. And I look forward to seeing you, and have a great lunch, everyone. Thank you very much.
Chair, can I ask a question? It's Paul Kimber.
Hey, Paul.